No.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So, my name is April Goggles. I am a member of the Economic Development Commission. I serve on the commission with a couple other members here. We have Cheryl Whitewool. She's running the computer or laptop for me. Nora Ullman. Tova Harjo is sitting in the back with sign sheets. And then we have also Sam Dresser. We are a committee of 5 elected to Economic Development Commission. We're just now coming up on our final term here in the end of November. Since we've been on economic development, it's been a tough road for us. And just to give you a little bit of history on our roles thus far from our successfully becoming elected to current, the first year coming in was post-COVID. And during that time, they were still renovating our offices, and our office is located out at Great Plains Hall. So that first year, we really didn't have an office space to work out of, so we were coordinating between different programs and different directors, borrowing space here and there, the casino, Natty, and just a multitude of other programs and departments were kind enough to let us borrow space for us to try to accomplish projects and get things rolling and get things moving. And it wasn't until the beginning of this year when things really started to take off for us. Back in March and April, we were then invited to, we attended a grant summit hosted by CWC, and through that we were able to make a lot of connections with a lot of different people and at different levels, state levels, a group called Haggerty, different grant writers, different philanthropists, and through our meetings amongst ourselves, EDC, we started having conversations about, what could we do and what are our options? At that point, we were then invited to attend a solid waste summit at the Frank B. Wise building. And you want to go to the first slide? So at that time, through that solid waste summit, there was a lot of entities there. We were invited to sit in on that meeting, and it was coordinated by our councilman Keenan Grossback, and he brought together EPA along with the county commissioners, Fremont County Solid Waste, the Business Council from the Northern Arapaho Tribe, the Shoshone Business Council, Arapaho First, the city officials from both entities, Lander, Riverton, and the liaison, the Shoshone liaison and the Arapaho liaison. And at that point, there was a lot of conversations going on regarding the illegal dumping going on here on the reservations. And through that morning, we went ahead and we had the opportunity to look at and tour a couple of the transfer stations. And to give you a little bit of history that I was unaware of, going into it, I didn't realize that, I walked into this meeting, with an open mind and, trying to understand the best that I could, the magnitude and the seriousness of the crisis that we face, as a people, as a reservation, as a tribe. And through that, looking at the Fort Washakie transfer station and seeing the layout of that, and then coming on down to our E30 transfer station and seeing the condition of how that was, it was, in my opinion, like complete night and day. And then from there, we came on down to the illegal dump site above Bengay Heights, up by the water towers, and I had no idea that had even existed back there. So to give a little bit of history regarding all of that, what was shared at the Solid Waste Summit was, and like I said, going into this meeting, I had no knowledge of how everything transpired and how our dump sites became what they are today. Was and I'm explaining this the way I understand it in my version of how I took it, how I took the information. Was the reason why our E30 dump site fell to the wayside was because it was under Intertribal Council. With it being under Intertribal Council, there was a contract that existed under Intertribal Council, and with that, in the language in that contract stated that the dump sites that will be taken care of in that contract is Crowheart. That has to be a must. It has to be taken care of. And the Fort Washakie transfer station, along with the E30 transfer station. And with our intertribal solid waste program being mainly operated by Shoshone members, of course, they're gonna take care of Crowheart because Crowheart is an obligated site that has to be taken care of. And of course, being run by Shoshone, they're gonna take care of their own. So at that summit, there was a hard question asked of them. Why did you let the E3 dump site go when it seemed more sensible to take care of, since it was closer to a more populated area? And they couldn't answer that. Standing there in that meeting, it was eye-opening, and just, I was personally I couldn't believe that they just walked away. They literally just walked away from the question, they walked away from the discussion, they just flat out up and walked away and refused to answer the question. When they received funding to take care of and manage our E3 transfer station, they chose not to. So in this summit, while we were there and through further discussion, EPA had let us know, had let both tribes know that there is funding available. This funding just became available just this year, strictly for solid waste and solid waste cleanup. That was when we decided to have discussions to apply for the grant that is available to tackle our solid waste crisis on our reservation. was taken a few months ago in July, so it's pretty recent. It was taken by Sean Brown and Arapahoe First. Just fairly recently, when we started work on this project and working towards applying for this grant and applying for this funding, he and his team, he and his program started to go out and collect the data that they needed to obtain what they could to obtain what they could to help with our grant submission. And as I had mentioned when we attended the Solid Waste Summit back in April, one of the other things that we learned, going into the summit, I had no idea the magnitude of illegal dump sites that we had on our reservation. I initially thought, 26, 30, 50, maybe. I had no idea that we had 1,100 illegal dump sites that were identified through BIA. That are currently on our reservation. One of the things that, with this partnership that we created with Arapahoe First is we're trying to determine, through this grant process is some of the most hazardous sites, some of the most hazardous illegal dump sites right now to target and get cleaned up. And in this video, as you've seen, we're looking at the one above Bengay Heights, Yellow Cap, Gas Hills Road, and the Ethity dump site are the first areas that we're going to target as cleaning up, and that'll be phase one. We're hoping to get that cleaned up within this first year. And then the following years, year two, we're hoping to focus on other sites with community input. And that's where we need your guys' involvement to come in and step in and help us to determine where we need to focus on next. The grant that we're applying for that the EPA had let us know is called the Community Change Grant. There's two different parts to it, track 1 and track 2. And like I said, the information that they had shared with us at this Solid Waste Summit is there's two different parts to this grant. And both tribes were informed that they are both eligible to apply for it. And during this meeting, as I said, the Shoshone tribe all stood up and walked out during the middle of this meeting and chose not to partake in the rest of the meeting. For reasons unknown, I don't know, and I couldn't tell you why, but they walked out. But the EPA continued on with their information and shared with us, the opportunities that were available through this grant. So through the Business Council and Arapahoe First, we're going to go ahead and move forward with submitting this grant. EDC being involved in the meeting was asked, what part do we want to be involved in? At that time, we agreed to be a part of the planning and prevention, collaboration, education, and outreach. So we're wanting to take an active role with helping with our solid waste cleanup here on our reservation. One of the things that it's going to require is a non-governmental entity. So we reached out to the Wyoming Outdoor Council. Sandy Whitehair was unable to be here tonight, but we have a representative here who can get up and speak on her behalf and share a few words on behalf of the Wyoming Outdoor Council.
Hello, good to see you all here today. My name is Bigwood Carpenter, Northern Arapaho tribal member, and I am one of the tribal engagement coordinators for the Wyoming Outdoor Council. And my supervisor, Sandy Whitehair, couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to fill in for her. Just to give some background, at the beginning, I've worked for the Wyoming Outdoor Council for the past 3 years, but at the beginning of this year, we had some discussions with the tribal council asking on some of our shared values. So the organization I work with works on clean air, clean water, clean land, public lands, and wildlife. And so we know that there's intersections between tribal folks and the organization. And so I had asked community members and the tribal council, what are some of the issues that we could collaborate on? And one of them was talking about the illegal dump sites earlier this year. And as was stated, we're the community-based organization who's partnering with the tribes and the organizations to help with all of the areas, but particularly the Wyoming Outdoor Council is helping with like the education and outreach that will need to happen in our community. What we know is that a lot of these dump sites are from illegal dumping, and then some of it is from our own people because of access to not having a dump site. And so when we talk about Gas Hills, like that area is mostly people who are off reservation coming on and dumping construction materials, things like that, so that they don't have to pay in town to dump those things. But when we talk about the one behind Bengay Heights, it's because we don't have an Arapaho dump site, so where are we putting our trash? And I think we're gonna need to come to some solutions on how do we curb both of those things. How do we stop our own people from just dumping anywhere? And then how do we stop all these outsiders coming in and dumping so that they don't have to pay? But with that, I'll pass it back over. Thank you.
So through this grant process, one of the requirements is to have community meetings. We've had community meetings out at Great Plains Hall and Blue Sky Hall. This is our third community meeting here tonight, and we're hoping to have future community meetings as time moves forward with continued updates as we move along. So phase one, we have 3 different parts. The reason why it says 3 illegal dump sites is because one of the dump sites is large enough where we can break it up into 2, like part 1 and part 2. Our main focus is to get those 4 areas cleaned up within this first year. Opening the 2 transfer stations. It was brought to my attention that Sean has contracted with Hopper Metal And they have started work already on the E3 transfer station. I believe it was either this week or last week. And they plan on having that open and up and running by the end of October, I believe. And that will be available to our tribal members. And then the other thing that he is working hard on is getting our E3, our Arapahoe transfer station up and running as well. And he plans on having that up and running as well by the end of October or sometime in October. The other portion is within his first years, we want to start quarterly dump drives, advertising quarterly dump drives throughout all of our communities, coordinating with the different entities and getting that going. And trash removal, not only on a small scale, but on a larger scale. Trash removal from a lot of our homes, from the people that don't have the means. We have a lot of elders, we have a lot of people that struggle with transportation or struggle with different types of disabilities where they have a hard time with different types of trash removal. So that's the other area that we've had discussions on. And then the campaign piece, getting into the schools, visiting with Wind River Cares. Sean and Keenan have had discussions with Rick Brennan, and he's on board with the education piece, and a lot of the school communities are school boards, and we've already been asked to come in and provide workshops with a couple of the different schools already, starting next month, on some of these education pieces surrounding illegal dumping. So before I go any further, we have a member that wanted to get up and speak a little bit in regards to solid waste.
Good evening. My name is Dean Goggles, and I used to run a solid waste in 2016, 2019 or something, but we ran it from the Arapahoe tribe. We ran it from our solid waste office up here by Rubin Airport. We were out there. But when we started out with them. We had 4 sites. All of them were open. The county came up with a new rule within 19 miles of a landfill cannot, you couldn't pay for it. And that was the county rules. They did that. So I took Arapahoe out of the realm. So what we did, we opened it up ourselves. We opened up Arapahoe ourselves. And for East Arapahoe was costing about $100,000 each with tipping fees. And with the county, what they gave us ate up all that money for tipping fees. And the fuel, the trucks that we had, was another probably 200 grand. But we started out with nothing but a rig and shovel. What we did, we bought a truck, and we had some dumpsters there, so we used them. As we went up, we went to get some grants from the USDA. We bought more trucks, bought more cans. So we thought about it was let's develop a trash pickup. So that's when we came up with the idea of hauling trash. And we put in for another grant. And I think today they're running really well. I think they got over 300 customers, Sean. Quite a bit. 300 customers. And we had 20 yards, 40 yards for cans to haul, trash, big stuff like white goods. And there was an alternative to how to dump stuff because they were just couldn't afford it. And it goes back to they were open and people needed to utilize them. A lot of people didn't. They dumped their trash out. So education is real important, that we need to tell our people, tell our young people, that we need to start using our transfer stations. And we gotta do that. Education is really important. And it costs a lot of money. Trash is very expensive, but it's gotta go someplace. But I just want to tell you that just a little bit. It was an operational one time, it ran good, everything. And now it came to this, we have to start over again. So what we're gonna do is pick up the pieces, let's move on, and let's try to get this grant. And it can be done. Take care of our communities, take care of our environment. That's what we're gonna do. Thank you.
So one of the things that, through this grant process, we've been crunching numbers and breaking everything down. So this gives you an idea of how much it's gonna cost to just clean up Great Plains alone. So going into that meeting, that solid waste meeting back in April, at that time it was told that the acreage for Great Plains was right around 11 acres. Since then, that data was collected back in between 20 and 22. And they went back up there not even a month ago and collected the data, Sean and his team, and they got walked around. And Great Plains is actually 23 acres. That's how large or how much that illegal dump site has expanded. It's gonna cost anywhere from $800 to $5 million just to clean that up. Why does it cost so much? We don't know how much asbestos is up there. Talking with different experts, it's gonna cost right around $14,000 per square foot to clean up asbestos. The price of tires went up. It used to be $7 per tire. Now they increased their price to $8 per tire. White goods, like any appliances, is anywhere from $10 to $12 per item. And then there's a lot of concrete up there. Increased tipping fees. Everything costs money when you haul it out, and it's gonna cost a lot just to try to clean that up. So that just gives you an idea of how much it's gonna cost to clean that area up, and that's just one of the locations. The cleanup of Yellow Calf is approximately 8 acres. I imagine that's probably increased since our data was collected. We're thinking anywhere from 500 to 1.5 million. Again, the cost of asbestos, tires, white goods. That gives you an idea of, how much everything is gonna be just to clean it up. That ain't including the cost to restore it back to its natural state. The cleanup of double dyes, that's 10 acres, 5 acres apiece. That's right around, the same 500 to 1.5 million. Asbestos again is 14,000, $8 a tire. White goods is anywhere from $10 to $12 per item, and then concrete. So we have a little exercise that we would like you guys to participate in. And it's an app that you can scan. And you're more than welcome to, although you can, pull out your, phones, you can go up to the screen and scan that, and
And if they don't have a smartphone and they wanna write it down, raise their hand and we can bring them up.
if you don't, have a smartphone, oh, we have a couple out here that would like to write your answer down. So the question is how does the solid waste crisis make you feel? And you can type in your answer. All the comments are anonymous. If you want to raise your hand again, if you want a card. So a couple of our comments are already coming in. The question was, how does the solid waste crisis make you feel? We have sick, sad, shocked, angered at the injustice, helpless. Why hasn't PIA done anything? Hopeless, sad for our people, sad for our people and the earth. And all of these responses are anonymous. We don't know who types what. We don't know who says what. Embarrassed, full of solutions, upset that it has gotten out of hand, grossed out, where's BIA? Shocked, embarrassed. So those are just some of our responses. And I'll read some of the ones that I picked up here. People are ignorant, lazy, shame on us. Very sad for our earth, for our children. It's heartbreaking. It's sad for Mother Earth. Frustrated. We're hoping with this grant, with a successful submission, that we as a tribe get awarded successfully. That way, so we can start the process of cleaning up our sites. We're gonna be starting from the ground zero once we start this cleanup. We're waiting on a contract to go through, or I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, did that contract get signed off on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things that needs to happen is, our council has approached Intertribal Council and requested the release of the Ethany transfer station from Intertribal Council, and requested that that transfer station be turned over to the Arapaho tribe to manage and control. Through that, when that successfully happens, the Arapaho tribe can then receive funding from Fremont County Solid Waste to manage, to help receive a portion of the funding to help manage the Ethany transfer station. Because right now, Intertribal Council receives funding from Fremont County Solid Waste to manage all 3 transfer stations, which they choose not to do. They receive $263,000 a year to manage the transfer stations. And not a penny of that goes towards the Ethany transfer station. So once they release that, we'll be able to manage that on our own, and we'll be able to take care of it and be able to receive that funding to take care of our own transfer station. One of the things that had happened was, and it's just crazy that it happened this way. Our own BIA person, I don't know if she's acting, got wind that the contract may have been signed off on. It isn't signed off on yet, but as soon as she found out that the Arapaho tribe was going to be taking over the Ethany transfer station, she turned around and called the EPA on the Arapaho tribe and tried turning in the Arapaho tribe and getting the Arapaho tribe in trouble with the EPA for failing to manage and successfully take care of the Ethany transfer station. And that was all within a day or a day after, which is just crazy to me. I mean, why would you do that? I don't know.
They're greedy.
Fortunately for us, when the EPA got wind of it, they turned around and defended us and said they were involved in that solid waste meeting back in April, and at no point did the Shoshone tribe express interest in the solid waste issue or the Ethany transfer station, and so there was no case, more or less, so that they just needed to pretty much squash it and leave it alone. So, in my opinion, I was glad that we had that support from the EPA defending us, knowing that They were there, they were present at that meeting, they witnessed the other tribe getting up and walking out. But this is how much it's gonna cost us to start from the ground up to run the E30 transfer station. It's gonna be, right around $85,000 a year. Again, tires are our largest cost. The Arapaho tribe will need to make up the difference. Sean and his crew will need to hire a driver, or they'll have a driver, a truck, a gate monitor, and then the estimated cleanup is gonna be $264,000 to clean up the E30 station. The 17-mile transfer station, the cost for tipping fees is right around $55,000 a year. That's for them to pick up the trash and haul it off. Again, tires are around $8. To manage a site, it's gonna be right around $145,000. One truck driver, one field truck, and the maintenance of that, one gate monitor. The estimated current cost to clean it up is right around $2,000, but one thing that we were told yesterday is it might be a little bit more than that, because there's another illegal dump site occurring not too far behind the current transfer station right now at the 17-mile transfer station, so it might be a little bit more to clean that up. And then we were talking about one of the stages of trash removal. One of the 5 stages was trash removal. We're estimating right around $56,000 a week for 30 weeks, starting in April and running through October 31st throughout the reservation. Weather permitting, depending on how long our winters go and how quickly it starts to snow. Arapaho First will employ 6 employees, 2 drivers, 2 equipment operators, 2 laborers. And over the 3 years, we're estimating right around $5 million over 3 years. And then after this 3 years, we're hoping to continue on with that and keep it going, keeping it moving forward. We're wanting to do quarterly dump drives throughout the reservation. We'll plan 4 large quarterly dump drives throughout our community and coordinating with all the different entities, Wind River Transportation, Housing, Community Health, or Wind River Community Health. All of these different programs are on board with us on wanting to make this successful. We're having these discussions and we're trying to coordinate everything and wanting this to be a success for our people and for our community. Where we'll be collecting washers, dryers, dishwashers, freezers, over the next 3 years on large, furniture, appliances, and over the next 3 years, we're estimating that cost to be right around $345,000. And then, as I mentioned, the prevention piece, the collaboration. We've been having discussions with Wind River Intertribal Transportation. They gave us an estimate of about $4.4 million. And why that's so much is because they're going to be installing light poles at our transfer stations, along with lighting at some of these illegal dump sites. We've talked about signage, placing signage throughout the reservation along with the legal dump sites, and then cameras strategically placed throughout the reservation. Discussions with YDOT they had let us know that if we were able to get them up and placed, they will help manage them. Pave the roads into the transfer station, and right now, the latest estimate we received was it's gonna cost right around 10 million for every 2 miles of paved road. Going into the transfer stations, campaign and education. You know, as natives, we always get behind a good campaign. And with this, we're gonna be coming to our communities for ideas on great campaign ideas, because, you know, there's a lot of us out there that have great ideas. You know, you think about some of those ideas that are out there, you know, dare not to do drugs, and click at our ticket, and, you know, the Smokey the Bear ones, and we're gonna need your guys' help to come up with some great campaigns to spread across our communities and get into our school systems and educate our kids. So, you know, what are some good campaign ideas? I don't know if anybody has any right off the top of their head. I mean, a couple of the last ones that we've heard through our last community meetings was, you know, don't be a stay. And, you know, keep Mother Earth clean. Trying to think of some of the other ones. Don't make Mother Earth cry. Do you remember any of that ones? No. But you're more than welcome to, you know, scan this again, and if you have any good campaign ideas, you're more than welcome to provide your input.
I have a question. So like for prevention and education, and I guess it kind of wraps into the slogan for the campaign, but I think that like, for me, when I'm hearing like even the slogans that you're like, touching back to for the campaign, it's kind of like shaming ourselves. When I think that, so I'm kind of wondering more about like, in prevention too, are we like reaching toward maybe like recycling and things like that? Because, you know, we don't create the trash, we just buy it like that, you know? So like in educating, like how are we gonna educate our kids that not only do you have to take your trash to the trash sites and things like that, I think that it's important to, you know, offset some of that cost too, with like tires, how can we use them? So, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of, I'm wondering if you guys have that in your, thing somewhere, like recycling and things, how do we tell our kids these? Because I think that it doesn't feel good to be shamed for, us having all this trash that we didn't create it, you know? And so back in the day, we were able to just put something to the side, you know, you eat a piece of your fruit even and you can give it back to the land, but now things aren't like that anymore. And so I'm kind of just wondering, you know, you said that you'd be working with like schools and things like that, like what are we educating them? Like what do we have to send to them? Because I think that that's important.
So actually, we're starting to work on that idea with WAC as well as a few other partners on the age-appropriate curriculum. And then Sean has some ideas regarding, like, recycling is expensive, it's not cheap. And so the thought is that we're gonna continue to ask for more money. We're not just gonna go for this first huge grant and stop there. We have the EDC, Arapahoe First, the council supporting us trying to clean up this and make it something that's sustainable. And so recycling is not off the table at all. I think Sean had an idea regarding the tires as well as the rock. And rocks. Concrete. Yeah.
We're trying to recycle the tires. If you've ever been to the Riverton City Park, those are actually recycled tires there instead of sand. And there's a lot of purposes, we can reuse it, and also we're partnering with Hopper. He's actually working with a company out of Georgia that's trying to build a bike lock out of the treads of the tires. And he also, he shreds them, so that's who we're gonna partner with as far as the tires. And for the concrete, he also has a crusher where you can actually break down the concrete back down to, a quarter inch, inch and a half rock, whatever you may need for your project. And we can use some of that for our driveways also too. And some of it can be used for the erosion control, because I know someone's told me about a month ago that the Buffalo Ranch, it's the river's eroding, it's like 20 feet from the back of the house there. So that's a project that we can repurpose the concrete for. And any other suggestions too, like if you there's a place that's washing out, even some of our roads, the mountain roads, we can actually use it again.
We still need campaign ideas.
So a couple of the campaign ideas that, were typed in was, don't be trashy, be classy, respect Mother Earth, rock people, respect this earth.
Do we get any written ones?
Nobody messed up. So like I had mentioned, phase 2 of this grant project is, they're gonna be done in 4 parts. We're gonna focus on the smaller dump sites as we move forward. And then, we're still gonna continue on with our quarterly dump sites and continue on and move forward with our trash removal and continued outreach and education within our school systems. And with the smaller dump sites, this is the other area, as I mentioned earlier, where we're gonna need community input, because we know that there's at least 1,100 illegal dump sites on the reservation. And it's gonna cost anywhere from $170,000 to possibly $2 million to get those cleaned up. And we don't know where they're all at, we don't know where they're all located. And, through, submissions on index cards or through a Slido, we've had different ones through our community meetings, submit, some of those locations. Like I didn't know there was, one down below Rapu School, and then, there was talk on some down by 17 Mile Bridge, and I don't know where a lot of these locations are, but again, this is where we're going to need community input and community feedback on where some of these locations are and where it is that you as a community would like us to focus on next after these 4 larger locations are cleaned up.
My name is Dean Goggles, and about maybe 20 years ago, EPA came up to Winterberg and they had $1 million and they wanted to clean up some of the trash. So back then, you could bury it. So what we did was that it was about 14 or 16 sites we worked on. We buried most of that trash. Today's a different story because they have rules and regulations now, EPA does, but you can't bury the trash anymore because it's a clean water violation. It affects groundwater. So that's one of the rules they have in place. And that's why the cost is so high. You gotta truck this stuff to the landfill. That's why it costs so darn much. Trucking costs is very, very expensive. Fuel, maintenance, breakdowns. I don't see why it's so high.
If you guys would be able to, scan these, we'd really appreciate any feedback we can get about where you think we should clean next after the 4 larger sites. Those are the ones that we're gonna consider, like all this information that we're getting from these slides, we're gonna go back and we're gonna look at them and we're gonna write down all your guys' ideas. And this is where we're getting, your guys' input for our project here. So if you could scan, and if you can't scan, please raise your hand and we'll have someone bring a card and a paper around. Cause, yeah, we really need your guys' input and where you guys would like, us to clean and all that good stuff. Again, as we mentioned, you know, that first year, we're gonna focus on, Gas Hills Road, Benkei, Heights, Yellow Cab, and Ethan Transfer Station. That's just in that first year. We have 2 other years after that to focus on other sites, smaller sites to get cleaned up. And we're gonna be, as Cheryl said, we're gonna be taking into consideration all of these submissions and all of these recommendations of these other sites. System sites, old abandoned homes and dump sites, Plunkett, Hills Hill, Quick Hills, Root Nose, Great Plains, 17 Mile. Yeah, we appreciate your input. Big wind.
I got a question.
Yes.
So after you go through the 2 phases, as a cattle operator, we deal with illegal dumping all the time. And how do we stop it after everything's cleaned up? Because after everything's cleaned up and you go through the process of having the dump sites open, we're still gonna have construction, you know, like right now we had horses out there, but majority of that's gone. So we're still having people still come into like pastures that aren't being utilized and they're dumping in there too. So how do we control that because we can't ask the BIA. I think the BIA kind of wants to step away when it comes to tribal land. If it's allotted, you know, they might do something, their trust responsibility, but when it comes to tribal, I think that's where we can't rely on the BIA to do compliance for us. So we need to, as a tribe, we need to do our own compliance. We need to have those people in place, just like we do for livestock. You know, the tribe, as operators out there, we watch each other's livestock because it does get stolen. And then we see the illegal dumping. It's just not just construction or household trash, it's animals, you know, horses. So those are the things that, you know, that's part of the problem, but we got a bigger problem too. So I think, you know, the compliance part for our people, we would have to have those people in place.
Thanks for your input, Joe.
Yeah.
And right now, we're working with our SALOC, Shoshone and Arapaho Law and Order Code. And we're strengthening it up, and we're trying to get it set up for our enrolled members. And we're gonna have some stiff penalties for illegal dumping. And we're still working out on how we're gonna find people, and if they don't pay, then we're gonna start letting them send out bench warrants, and if they don't pay, well, they're gonna have a bench warrant for them. Then when they get stopped or whatever, they're gonna sit in jail. That's what it has to come to before our people really take this matter serious. And as far as for the non-natives, we're gonna prosecute them in tribal court through civil penalties and judgment. And if they don't pay that, we're gonna send it to the collection agency. Because, you know, that's the best way for us to fight the non-natives, because we can't prosecute them in our tribal court and make them pay a littering fine, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best avenue that we come up with right now to combat that, you know? And we all know non-natives, you know, they really watch their credit score close, you know, especially if you're a company, you know? So those penalties that are gonna be assessed are gonna be high. Or dumping of construction materials, you know? We're not talking like thousands of dollars, we're talking about $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 civil judgment on them. And if they don't pay that, well then guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna send it to collection agency. I think that's the best way for us to combat that problem. And as soon as our people sit a couple of days in jail, they'll wake up then, you know, because they ain't gonna wanna sit there. And we're gonna assess penalties that way. I think that's the best way for us to combat this problem, because it is a big problem, you know, and you're right. BIA, they don't want nothing to do with it. Because we went up there, Nishan went up there and asked them, and said, well, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the tribes here. And this is public health. What kind of help can you guys help us with? Is there any funding there? And the only thing they told us there was, we could help you with equipment, and that's it. Nothing with the operation cost, nothing with trying to get us anything. They said equipment and whatever you need for your transfer station, whatever it might be, maybe be a trash container, but that's it, you know? So I know the frustration, you know, I do. We've been trying to tackle this problem at all fronts, you know, and this is the best what we came up with, you know, trying to provide a service to our people. It's well overdue.
Yeah.
And our people have to take pride in their communities and their transfer stations and keep them clean and not have illegal dump sites, you know. But the key component too is educating the younger people to let them know that it's not right to do that anymore, you know. Because historically, you know, as I grew up, my grandparents had a trench next to their down by the trail, you know. That's what they did. They burned the trash and they pushed it in there, you know. But you know, it's the education component to it. that's where we're gonna make a change, you know, in our younger people.
Hello, my name is Sean Brown, and I'd like to just mention that we are gonna have, 3 positions as, natural resource monitors, and it will be through NANO. And they will be enforcing, they're gonna deputize them, and then they'll be enforcing the, regulations there. And they'll be out in control, so that's part of the, prevention piece here with the grant.
Then to add, to your question, was one of the other things that was shared with us through, our state liaison, Anita. She had, let us know that if there's enough evidence and we see that there are non-natives coming on and dumping illegally, if we successfully submit that evidence to the appropriate authorities, pictures, license plate number, footage of them actually dumping location, details, as much detail as possible to the appropriate authorities at the city level, and she could correct me if I'm wrong, that they will prosecute, correct?
Yeah, but also we wanna make sure they don't interact, so like take pictures but don't interact for them.
Did you hear her on that last part?
Mhm.
Take pictures but don't interact, or, don't put yourself in danger.
The people that are dumping are not necessarily, good people when they're in that place, in that area, because they know that they're committing a crime. So if you can get a picture of their license, a picture of the solid waste, and a picture of who they are, and then if you send it like, call EDA, NANRO, whoever, we'll figure out how we can have consequences, or EDC.
Well, the thing about that too is you gotta watch these guys coming from town late at night, because they do come late at night and nobody's looking. You stay right there at the corner of the Rendezvous Road, coming from town to there, you see them guys traveling late at night, 10 o'clock, you see them construction guys going out to who knows where, dumping their material. And that is that right there. I've seen a couple of them, but I couldn't just run out there and snap a picture, So that is something that's coming, especially south on the borderline, reservation line, coming from Casper. You see furniture way the heck out there. What the heck is it doing out there? We don't dump out there. All the white people are doing that shit. And I don't like it.
So we should maybe, an idea of placement of cameras, you're recommending that, and so we can have this on record, you're recommending that we can try to maybe get some, cameras in that border area, the south area.
What happened to the lights down there that's supposed to be on the corner there?
The lights?
Rendezvous Road and Highway 789, isn't there supposed to be lights going up and down the highway there?
There should be.
Completely dark.
We can request additional lighting. I mean, we have it in the budget. There's a little bit of wiggle room for those lighting, so we are trying to light up the reservation because that lowers crime rates as well. The brighter the lights, the less crime. And illegal dumping is crime.
Back to, some of the information that we have, based on, our quarterly dump drive, the numbers, that, were derived for the quarterly dump drives, to do 4 per year for our large items, we're estimating right around 345,000 for the next 3 years. And again, that'll include our washers, dryers, dishwashers, freezers, and then our large, furniture items. Our trash removal, we already went over this.
Oh, it's still going for track 2.
Oh, track 2, we'll continue on with our trash removal. Again, that's gonna run from April to October, estimating depending on weather permitting. Again, that'll involve, right around 6 employees, 2 drivers, 2 equipment operators, 2 laborers, right around 56,000 per week for 30 weeks, 5 million over the next 3 years. Again, we'll continue on working with WAC, Wyoming Outdoor Council, the continued campaign, education into the school systems and the programs across the reservation. And one of the things that, prior to going into this, or not prior, but, through this process, EDC, our member Cheryl, had an opportunity to meet with our lender, City of Lander. And through that meeting, she got to have a discussion with them regarding the master plan and how that came about for them. And through that discussion, they had shared with her that it took them 10 years to create a master plan for the City of Lander. And through that, they were able to successfully obtain a $42 million grant just this past year, just by having a master plan. So when she brought that information back to us as EDC, we were, having discussions amongst ourselves, and we were like, why can't we do that? Why can't we, as a tribe, as a reservation, as a community, have a master plan for ourselves? Why can't we go after that type of money instead of having programs and departments compete for $1 million here or $1 million there to try to sustain themselves and their programs and their operations? So we recently had a grant summit about a month ago and shared this information with all of our directors, and hopefully created the conversation amongst them to roll out the idea of, let's start working together instead of against each other. Let's start collaborating with each other instead of against each other. What services do we offer that are similar to the services that you guys offer? How can we work together to try to generate and bring in more funding for our programs, for our people, for our reservation? We've had discussions on, what that would look like for us as a reservation. We're just right under 11,000 people as a tribe. We have nation numbers, not tribal numbers. We could be considered Northern Arapaho Nation. Once the federal government starts looking at us as a nation, we then become eligible for more funding. And through that, we could start creating like a planning department. We could start creating a recreation program. We could start creating a larger agricultural program. We can look at other avenues to bring in a lot more funding for our people. And expand into something larger and greater. Not only for our older people, but for our younger people to come, our younger generations. And through this solid waste initiative or solid waste grant that we're applying for, you know, it's just one small step, one small strategic plan that we're hoping will flourish into something big for our people. Because by starting to clean up a lot of the reservation, maybe more opportunity will come to our reservation. And maybe we can build something bigger for our people. I don't know. I have hope and I have goals. But thank you for coming and thank you for listening to what we had to share regarding our steps regarding the illegal dumping and what we hope to accomplish. And I don't know if any of the councilmen or Sean or any of the other DC members would like to add anything.
You don't want to talk about the history of it?
These cows have made fried bread.
Good evening. My name is Sean Brown. Let's take a moment here. I just want to thank everybody for your time, but the main purpose of this information meeting was for everyone's input, buy-in from the community. So I encourage everybody to go home, you know, let everybody know what our plans are doing, you know, what are in place. You know, just spread the word. And one thing that I'd like to mention right now is also we're cleaning up the Ethity transfer station, and we are asking the community members come up on October 7th and 8th to come and volunteer. We're going to be cleaning up the smaller pieces of the trash and you know, what blew out in the sagebrush that pieces of equipment couldn't pick up. So please come out, give us a hand. Yeah, and we'll have a flyer out also for those 2 days. And reason why we set them 2 days is because that way we're not in the way of the contractors. So they know we're coming those days, and then we'll just go out and order orders of the transfer station and clean it up there. But, yeah, and any further questions, then please ask them, because this is, we need everybody's input.
Martin.
Yep.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and showing support for the master plan here that we're trying to create for our solid waste program. And it's been a long journey, you know, trying to get all this together, and we're almost to the finish line, you know. We need our people to help us to buy into what we're doing and to go along with us and help us out by spreading the word to rest of our enrolled members. Let them know what we're trying to do here, because from that, you know, everybody's gonna start talking about it, and then it's gonna spread like wildfire, and everybody's gonna want to be a part of it, you know, because this is something good for our reservation and our
younger people, the youth, and the ones that are not even here yet. We're trying to clean it up for them, so that way they have something, our lands will still be pristine, and they'll have something good to have, clean water, clean air, and that's what we wanna leave for our people, the ones that are not here yet. And, with the work from the gals from EDC, April, Cheryl, and Tova, along with, Sean here from Rampole Burst, they did a lot of work to get to where we're at right now. And I'm glad that we got our nonprofit and this young gentleman right here come over and stepped in for his boss, and I've seen him around, you know, he's an advocate for clean water and for the Mother Earth, you know, and I'm glad that we have our nonprofit, One Outdoor Council, to partner with us, you know, because once this catches on and other people within the state, within the nation, they're gonna see what's going on over here. And then they're gonna wanna be a part of it. There might be some private donors out there that will be able to send funds to the nonprofit over here. To make sure that that money's, send money to them to help with our cause, you know. And it's gonna really help out. So I'm glad you all came here and want to be a part of this, and I'm glad Joe come over and stayed the way he had to stay because he's on our ag board, you know. And then they're out there too, on the range, and they probably know more illegal dump sites that are out there. Because they're out there, you know, checking their cows and they push them out the range. So somehow I think we're gonna try to reel them in to be a part of this, you know. Try to get some resource officers out there to help patrol our borders, you know, because that's what it's gonna take for us to manage our land. Because the BIA don't want to do it. They're trying to wash their hands of it, you know. But that is nothing new, you know. I think it's time for us to just take over the whole BIA. We've got enough people to take care of it ourselves within the tribe. But I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. Mahoo.
Hey, I have something to say. Here, and I really appreciate everybody showing up, but people aren't just gonna show up for this. We live in a time where everybody expects to get something for their work, you know, have their hand out for money. You gotta pay these kids $5 to even clean up their, you know, outside their house or something. Like, you know, we have to think of something that will attract them more, like maybe have a big feast afterwards, you know, have like a giveaway or something for the kids who come and help. You know, like, it's sad to say that, that's the way it is now. Everybody needs something for their work, and they're like, if not, they're just sitting around at their house, like, without a purpose. You know, you want it to really take off, it's like a quick way to get to them, you know. I don't know if we have funding for it or anything, but money for the people who show up, or, you know, like I said, a giveaway or something. Have like a raffle for the people who show up, something nice. And that's how you get their attention. You know, like it's just the way it is now. You know, and it's good what we're trying to do, but we have to remember that we're in a different time than it used to be. Like you said, we can't even go bury our trash or burn it in the dump anymore. So it's like, to get people involved, you have to give them something. You know, I don't know, so that's probably just like one of my ideas coming up for that one. Thank you.
So with that, like, we don't have the money right now. We're going for a grant application, and this community meeting is part of that. But those are definitely things that we can consider, right? Maybe incentivizing our youth when the education pieces is, maybe if you can fill a bag of trash and it's not just like empty trash, but true trash that you picked up, $5 a bag, something like that. We could incentivize them for that way, for sure.
thank you guys for coming out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I would appreciate your input, your comments, and look forward to our next community meeting.
Are you gonna have these like regularly, like every so many months or something?
Yes, we plan on having regular community meetings regarding the illegal websites.